Grand Risings, beloved. You have been upon peculiar treasures of Yahweh. I'm your sister Renee in Christ, and I would love to bid you all an absolutely wonderful Sabbath, and I hope you're getting some well-deserved rest today. Now, this video that I wanted to get into, it is geared towards many people of color, and anyone is more than welcome to listen to it because it may apply to you as well, because I think you really need to hear this. This is like a wake-up alarm, but it's not out of any type of discrimination or anything. But scriptures say a person that doesn't provide for their family is worse than an infidel. And I am trying to provide you with some truth today in hopes that you wake up. So let's begin. I wanted to do this video as a wake-up call so you will come out from under this guise of what is said to be our culture. And when I say of color, I mean anyone who has had relatives in prison or poverty forever, slavery, and drug selling and users is just a regular thing. Now there's a national view of the U.S. incarcerated residents by race and ethnicity to show that Black Americans on average are 4.8 times more likely to be incarcerated than white Americans. However, in some states like New Jersey, we can be up to 12.5 times more likely to be incarcerated than that of white Americans. Now, Latino individuals are on average 1.3 times more likely to be incarcerated than whites in the United States. In some states, such as Massachusetts, Latino populations are up to 4.1 times more likely to be incarcerated than whites. Now, this video is intended to jar those of you whom this applies to. I'm sounding the alarm, okay? Why is this? Are these races more troublesome, more eviler, more savage, or is this just the way it's always been? Could there be some sort of objective design that created this way of life for us? Do we just come from a culture that influences us to disregard the law, to disrespect people, to not care about society? Now, this video is intended to reveal an easy solution to this detrimental reality. So let's get into it. Now, in the late 19th century, psychiatrists and doctors began to label same-sex desire in medical terms and looking for ways to reverse it. It was thought to be a mental illness. Now, right off, you might be saying, what in the world does same-sex attraction have to do with people of color being in prison at higher rates than others, right? Well, if you just follow along, you'll get everything as I tell you about it. Now, it was called conversion therapy, okay? It was a term concerning that act of, nature, which they thought to be mental illness. Now, different methods were used, as some put it, to turn a gay man straight. Some methods were electric shock treatment, hypnosis, which were believed to manipulate sexual impulses, aiming to switch a person's mindset. Now, that's the main thing. Other treatments were shocks of electrode implants that were implanted in the brain. And the overseers would take further steps, such as hiring female prostitutes, having the person repeatedly watch heterosexual pornography, and utilizing foul fragrances, sort of like gas passing, similar, to that, while the person watched homosexual media to trigger their brain stimuli to feel disgust. Now, in our modern day, different, more subtle methods are used to cause a person to feel certain ways while watching or listening to something musical, like musical frequencies, words, and repeat visualizations on the unsuspecting public, but it's just not to turn you away from homosexuality. Now, depending on your race, certain movies, music, and television programs have a target on the backs of their audience, all right? It's geared towards certain individuals. And it was a practice in early movie theaters that the production studios would subliminally place images on the wide screen that stimulated the audience to react to the unnoticeable images within the previews. For example, in just splits of a second, during the previews, there'd be someone maybe with a soda or eating candy, eating food, a hot dog, popcorn, to influence the audience to go and spend money at the concession stands. But people just didn't notice because it's so quick. Now with music, frequency and lyrics in a song can make you cry. It can make you feel, it can make you feel happy, murderous, or erotic. But without the physical shock treatments needed, how they did, back to jar someone from same-sex attraction. Now, a more subtle approach to jar your impulses and actions they do today is called predictive and social programming, which are subjects we will go into over this video. Now, you can either stay compliant to what they're doing, like a little guppy fish, or climb above what they're doing. Now, the media outlets vary in its cunning methods to encourage and influence how they want the masses to act. So people today can get shocked through mental manipulation, through newspapers, news channels, television, programs, movies, radio, and as of recent decades, social media and entertainment platforms. This new methodology in conversion therapy has ability to transform a young, innocent mind, even older minds, into a menace of society, an absolute monstrosity. And all that needs to take place is for a child to be left to his or her own devices and outside of the Most High's plans for them. Now, if you made it this far, I would definitely like if you like the video and subscribe. But just hold on a little longer and we'll get into the big picture of it. Now, when you consider the lives of those of color, you think about poverty, never-ending struggles, disloyalty, stabbing each other in the back. But that is not the Most High's, intentions for us. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Most High, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Now, when we let social or any type of media raise our children because we're so busy with other things, we end up, with future prison inmates. So, Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way that they should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Now, when we as parents fail to teach our children in the way of the Lord, they are more likely to go astray. If we ourselves live as society's ever-changing culture of acceptance of using drugs, marijuana is a drug, whether you want to accept it or not, adultery, sexual immorality, fornication, jealousy, hate, then minimize those sins as if they are no big deal. We are teaching our children, our future generations, that is okay. That is not a big deal, Even though we might say, don't do this or don't do that, they're going to do what they see you do. Even if you don't act this way, if you watch this form of entertainment, you're still teaching it to them. That's what they're learning. The word enter in entertainment is, it means something's entering, Entertainment is containment. That means something's being held, it's being contained. So these things stay in our minds. Now know this, you are your child's first teachers. Scriptures say that if you don't warn the wicked to turn away from sin and they die in their sins, they will be held guilty for their sins, but their blood will be required by you. So if you have raised your child up in this world's entertainment, in all that the world accepts, they will be one of the wicked, unfortunately. And you don't believe me? All the adults in prison were once children. Do you think they were raised in the way of the Lord or society's norms? So training them early on in the way of Yahua will aid them in righteousness and help avoid a lot of pain. When they get older, they'll think about that. They'll recall what you taught them. But if you don't warn the very child that you raised in the way, if you raise them in the way of the wicked, you're going to have to answer that in judgment. Now, you may not know this, beloved, but many people of color are in scriptures, but we're just not told that truth, so we don't pay attention. But there were 12 tribes of people that the Most High chose to be his. He revealed himself to these people through signs and wonders and in the man of Christ. Now, if you haven't, check out my video, which explains this nation of people more in depth, And I'll link the video below. These people were chosen due to the elder relative, a man named Abraham. He was faithful to the Most High. So Yahuwah promised that all his descendants, as well as all nations of the world, would be blessed because of him. However, those descendants rebelled against the Creator, and as a result, they were punished. The same as how a parent loves their children and corrects them or punishes them when they disobey. Okay? So scriptures tell about how they were sent into bondage, or how, first of all, he told them that they were going to bondage if they did not listen to him, okay? And bondage is slavery, of course. And they had curses placed on them instead of these blessings that the Most High has set before them. Then he said that you will be oppressed. You will be sent away from your home into all nations on ships. You will have yokes of iron on your necks, and that their children will be sold to other people. The people that receive their blessings are the ones that own all the major corporations, the banks, the medical and entertainment industry. They're the lender, we're the borrowers, they're the head, and we are the tail right now. Now that's in 28:44 of Deuteronomy. But the Most High Yah said he's still going to keep us if we turn back to him. He will forgive us. Now, how will you children of Israel know that your ancestors erred, went away, unless you seek out this information? Okay, when history repeats itself, it's because people don't know, they didn't find out. And so when we figure out why we're in these lowly positions today, we want to change from that. So once you begin to walk in knowledge and truth and discernment, you no longer will be easily deceived. And that's where the parents come in, not the ministers who market their leadership and who some are in cahoots with the hidden hands, indirectly misleading believers. To receive religious doctrinal certifications here in America, they have to go to their theological schools and their seminaries, okay? Those with the ability and authority to decide what you can and cannot preach. The very ones who created our education system. Okay, they erased a whole nation's history. They rewrote it. They revamped our culture and led us to believe that we come from monkeys, the human race. Social and predictive programming. These terms, firstly, predictive programming came into light during the 20th century with the uprise of entertainment platforms and mass media outlets. And, what do you watch on TV? You watch a TV program. But I digress. By programming, those holding the strings who temporarily have our blessings until the Most High sends his son back, can introduce to the mass public ideas and foretelling about possible future events, subtly though, and subconsciously. We don't even know it, without having to implant anything in our brains, no type of electric shock therapy or anything like they did, back then. They own most of the industries today. Okay, the medical, judicial, music, television, banking, stock market, major corporations, they have the blessing that we were supposed to receive. So, for example, within media, early in the 1900s, men were the main partakers of cigarette smoking. As far as women were concerned, it was thought to be unattractive, not publicly accepted, and a male thing. Up until World War II, it was told that cigarettes were beneficial health-wise, but women still refrained. They still held back. So the American Tobacco Company hired a renowned public relations specialist named Edward Bernays to gain women as potential buyers of cigarettes. You can watch my video, Predictive Programming, on that to learn more about what happened. But, again, if you haven't done so, watch it after this video. So anyway, Bernays, his first plight to entrap women into the worldwide epidemic of smoking cigarettes was through liberation of women. Having beautiful women in public, in the limelight, such as in parades and on the widescreen, smoke cigarettes. Okay? Now, Bernays, being one of the first media influencers, his plot was to reach the female masses by picking sexy, renowned actresses, right? And having them appear in certain times, in certain areas, in certain movies, smoking. And so from Housewives to I Love Lucy and the livelier sex symbols like Jane Mansfield and Laura Turner, His successful plot stupendously influenced women to dive in, and they no longer felt like it was unattractive and it was no longer shunned in the public eye. But back to scripture, it's sort of how the United Nations speak for the nations. So there were a class of people who devised a plan to subtly erase a whole history of a nation of people. And here today, we are as bees who've lost their queen, and we don't know how to work in unity any longer. But again, it's by design. Psalms 83, 1 through 5. It's a song for Asaph. It says, "Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have said, let us take crafty counsel against them, and against your people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Let us make Israel forget that they were a nation." And today, we don't know who we are. We believe that they're Israel over in Israel today, but it's because you are unlearned. Now, sadly, a lot of people say, you know what, their people are grown, they're going to do what they want to do. But I really believe that if you know the design that you were set up to fail, I believe that it would change a lot of people. Now, these verses explain the early plots of deception, but to keep this going, there had to be continual plots and plans and arrangements. Now, recalling Deuteronomy 28, this nation of people were told that they would receive numerous blessings if they stay loyal to the Most High, but also that they would be cursed if they did not. And so after reading, or as scriptures tell us, to study yourself to be approved, you will learn that the curses fit many people of color today, be it blacks, African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, or the like. So yes, we are still suffering the curses today. But how does this fit into programming, you might ask? Well, when a person doesn't see themselves in a story, they're not familiar with the people of the story, there's no interest. They're less likely to learn a lesson or even notice the plot twist. So those at the top know this to be so. So through slavery, where many of the slaves were not allowed to read or learn, and only those elected to preach or teach by the slave owners, the same as how we have these many preachers today. The slave owners designated what could and could not be read to the slaves. Same way the government says what you could teach in your churches. But this aided to further erase or lose whatever knowledge about the Most High, his relationship with the people of Israel, and their history, that they tried to hold on to. So in essence, in predictive programming, it's implanting certain ideas which get portrayed through media outlets, usually movies and television, but it doesn't stop there. But when or if these things come to be in our reality, we're already familiarized to what we've seen portrayed on television and in the movies and in our music, and instead of pushback, we're more likely to embrace and accept it and mimic it and live it out. Just like when women and the smoking thing earlier on in the early 1900s. It was no longer not accepted and frowned upon by the public, and they gave no pushback because they were programmed. So social programming is sort of like an empty house needing to be filled with furniture to become a home. The same is with our brains. So we grow in knowing when we fill our brains with additional information at birth, okay? We know nothing at first, but as time goes by, through experience, our mind feels more and more knowledge. And so infants experience crying, and then they know they get fed, they get diaper changed, they get comforted, so they start knowing that. However, social programming is more sinister than that. Now, a prime example would be a child who grows up repeatedly seeing domestic violence in the home. They'll begin to mimic that behavior by either bullying in school, acting out in school, or being bullied, or growing up to be abusive, or either being abused. Now, social programming is a process which shapes individuals within society, but through media which can reach millions at a time to induce a common consensus, okay? Speaking of culture, if you are of color, imagine, if you will, okay, just imagine this. Imagine someone who is totally opposite of your culture or your race. Someone who has always had privilege and seemingly a life of luxury. Okay, they've obtained the American dream. They were raised in the American dream, especially on television and in slavery. Certain people were above, certain were not. Who has been able to pass down the wealth to their children? Whose children are always portrayed as college attendees, business owners, doctors, lawyers, judges, respected clergy, respected pastors. Always, though. These cultures' music has always been filled with happiness, hope, love, togetherness, and a little promiscuity or sexual immorality, unless you're Madonna or Lady Gaga. But their religious leaders are always honest, pure, care for humankind, right? And then look over the media portrayal in your said cultures. You of color, how is the music for that culture? How do the movies portray you as school dropouts, bullies in gangs, violent towards your brother, towards your neighbors, murderers, loveless, disrespectful to authority, whoremongers, overly promiscuous, pimps, living in poverty, quick to take what somebody else has? Your religious leaders, they're just scandalous, money hungry, adulterers, deceitful. And our Creator and the Son, Christ, whom was sent, are used in place of curse words. God, Jesus, infant Christ. Holy sh. So the elite know through the process of time, by repeatedly seeing this act of culture, unbeknownst to the little people, the masses though, us, that we begin to live in what we see and believe it to be factual. That's programming at its finest. Loved one, you can live outside this fabricated culture set before you, but only through the knowledge of your true culture, your true history, knowing and serving the Most High in truth. There was a time when the people He chose to reveal Himself to were in alignment with Him. They relied on Him. They trusted in Him to lead them. And those who rebelled died in the wilderness. But until you discover this and teach it to your children, you will live with eyes wide shut, in spiritual darkness and physical legal bondage, in prison. And we think Yah has too many rules, but most of the rules we follow today are from Him. You'll continue believing that there are many ways to the Most High, and all you need to do is believe in Christ, but still live in willful sin. You'll think yourself to be God's. You'll practice Yoda, Buddhism, spirituality of the universe, nature, tarot cards, astrology, practice dressing up for Halloween, all these fake holidays. You'll still believe that if you die, although having rejected the word of the Most High, that you've passed on to a better place, even though the Bible teaches different. Those in Christ are dead to sin, and you cannot serve two masters. You cannot keep evil and good. Salvation isn't guaranteed unless you hold on to it. Paul says to work out your own salvation. No one can snatch it from you, that's true, but you can give it away through sinning, willful sin. The wages of sin is death. The road to destruction is broad, it's wide, but the path to life is very narrow, and only few find it because they go against the crowd. The God of this world has blinded the eyes of many, and if you reject this message, He has also blinded your eyes. There are workers of iniquity behind the scenes who thrive off controlling others. There's a book called Pawns in the Game where we, the little man, are considered to be human cattle, and we are believed to need to be led, where we need for somebody to tell us what to do. The elite will continue to try to outsmart the Creator to avoid what's in store for all the workers of iniquity, for all those greedy and oppressors. But it's inevitable that Satan and all who rejected the Most High are promised to take part in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone and never extinguishes. The well-paid and overly promoted sell-out actors and entertainers who portray this false culture or way of life think us to be buffoons, fools, showing us an illusion of a culture, but will also join the adversary because of their greed. Now, what profits a man to gain the world but lose his soul? That is in scriptures in Mark 8:36 and Matthew 16:26. Now, think about this, beloved. Look at the opposite culture or the opposite nationality. And I'm not being prejudiced again. I'm just trying to shake those of us which don't see this deception. Those who think this to be normal, who defile their temples, which is the body. We are the body of Christ. And sleep with any and everyone outside of being married. Do you not know that you're being one with them all? The scriptures say a man who sleeps with a harlot becomes one with her. So you sleeping with these thoughts, okay? You are hating yourself. Christ said if a person that hates their brother is a murderer. Parents, don't prostitute your daughter to cause her to become a whore. So we are dressing our little daughters like little harlots, have perverts looking at them. Okay, the Bible says do not prostitute your daughter to become a whore. Or we who covet, don't covet your neighbor. Don't be jealous of them. Don't rob them. Don't steal from your fellow man, okay? We disrespect our elders, and it says your days will be shortened, whether in life or prison or death or early grave. Making fortune and fame your priority, putting other gods before the Most High, Yahua, who created you, you are going down the wrong road. I'm trying to mentally slap you out of your delusion, thinking this is just the way things are. It's not. I love you, and with godly love, and I want you to be in the kingdom with me, okay? You need the wool ripped from out from front of your eyes before the Most High takes his covering from over you. Now, he is not going to force you to follow him. That's how much he loves you. He gives you your own will. Rather, he's going to give you over to your sins if that's your desire. But when you land in trouble sometimes, he will not listen to you. He says, go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. Let them deliver you in your time of tribulations. That's Judges 10:14. I'm pleading to you to begin to teach and train your children up in a way opposite to all the ever-changing ways of this world, all the things that they accept, all the things that they teach. We only have our children for a little while before they begin to absorb all these outside elements of sin, buffoonery, okay? Before they just are out of our care. All right, they're in school for 8 hours, and they're not just learning mathematics and English anymore. They're told about all these weird things now. Before their minds are fully developed, they're learning these things. You know that's evil, okay? And then there's college, and then we don't have any covering over them. So we have to teach them while they're still with us. That's why, or have you even noticed that after many children go to college, they become atheists or agnostic? It's because that is what they're programming them. Before the adversary diverts them and the penal system grabs a hold of them, teach them in the love of the Most High God. At a point in time, adultery was even frowned on. The adulterers could get convicted. But as sin grew in society, got popular, it's okay now. Sexual immorality is almost in every song, every TV show, every movie, because it's marketable. You can buy contraceptives, you can rent motels, you can get surgery changes, and they could just have a ball with you spending all this money in all these different industries. Prison officials, they can sit back and wait for future inmate populations because they're marketing to your people, your community, okay? And they know it will influence our actions. We will be programmed by these industries, popularizing high-end clothing, using and selling drugs, stealing, murdering, cheating, fighting, buying expensive cars and houses and bragging about it, robbing people just to get these things, okay? And talking about it, promoting it through our music and media, okay? They predict this, all right? They know we're going to commit some kind of offense if we don't have it. We haven't worked hard for it, which they don't teach us in movies about that. And so they just teach us that we can go out and get it how we can, okay? They don't teach us that we can benefit from a college degree. We're not shown any of these things. We're just shown how to scheme to get ahead. So we think that's the normal way, but it's not. Now, our ancestors sinned against the Most High, and so we are going to continue to repeat these mistakes unless we learn about this. Father says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and this is why everywhere we've been scattered, we are struggling to get ahead. And Scripture says, I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries according to their way, and according to their doings, I judged them. And then if you look at this, screen, you will see how many places we are. And this is just some of the places. Now, our ancestors, the children of Israel, forfeited their blessings. And he intended them to receive it, but they were given to others. And until we return back to them, that's just how it's going to be. They even had a part in the verdict to kill Yeshua. The very own people wanted to kill the Messiah, and they ended up placing a curse on us, on their future descendants. You can find that in Matthew 27:24-25. Now, Deuteronomy 30:19, it says, Moses said, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both you and thy seed may live. Why are our men getting killed by the police, by their neighbors, people in their neighborhood? We've been so far erased from our history and culture through our captivities, from Babylon to Portugal to Africa to America, all these other places that are, it's just ridiculous. Our last captivity here, though, in American history, which is his story, we're told nothing about life prior to Africa. We have to search deep. Everywhere we are, those scriptures say we will be oppressed. That's Deuteronomy 28:29. Now, just because you may be blessed with monetary gain, you are just a drop in the bucket of wealth in this wicked nation. Now, yes, money is beneficial because it's necessary to eat, buy food and get clothes and sustain, okay? But money is not the end all. One day we all must die because of Adam, and money, paper or digital, will mean nothing. What matters are the treasures that you have stored up for yourself in the kingdom. If you live in truth and in righteousness, you are guaranteed to live eternally, whether it be the New Jerusalem or heaven. But back to the modern day, what about the music of our said culture? What is the majority of music geared towards? Is it education? Because many black music artists have actually attended higher education, but they profess get-rich-quick schemes, okay? Why isn't their education being mentioned in their lyrics? Maybe in a quick little interview, but that's it. You know why? Because they wouldn't get paid, and they want that money, and that's what's more important to them. And so our children, our culture's music is about making love, but that means sex, okay? No togetherness unless you're together in bed. No commitment, just promiscuity, sexual immorality. No peace, just violence. Getting rich any way you can. Climbing up out the gutter just by doing illegal stuff. Okay, not working hard. Robbing somebody, taking what's theirs. Getting turned up, drunk and high. Guns, murder, no peace. Wasting money, never saving, never investing. Never helping someone in need. The scriptures say that a man who doesn't provide for a family, especially those in his own household, is worse than an infidel. And that means someone who is against the Most High, like a sinner. We are programmed to dislike reading, okay, by slavery. And through wolves in sheep's clothing, which is many of these pastors and priests in movies and television programs that say you can just still love the things of the world as long as you just believe. They know that it's like a marketing business church, okay? Scriptures say if you love the things of this world, you make yourself an enemy to the Most High. So to say you love Christ but not follow the things that he preached, he says, if you love me, keep my commandments. So if you're not doing this, you're just wasting your time. You're blinded by the false light. So trying to wrap things up, we're brought into a nation that has no regard for you, whether you're young or old. And now you know why. Yah said that he will send the rebellious nation of Israel to a nation they didn't know, nor understand the language. We didn't know English before we came here. Okay? To a nation that lacks respect for the elderly or the young. That's Deuteronomy 28:49-50. And you don't believe me? Elderly and young people have been killed during police stops with no or little repercussions, okay? And I'm going to tell you, hate does not discriminate against age. So if you get pulled over by the wrong officer, you're in trouble. And this does not mean to go try and overthrow the government, okay? Because through Yahua, he will have vengeance, okay? And he will restore what was lost. But until then, we have to respect the moral and legal laws of the land, not the societal and political propaganda, okay? But we will be redeemed. Besides, man's laws are borrowed from the Most High anyway. Now, there are some religions who believe the dead who rejected these warnings, okay, have a chance to redo their wrong, namely the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Catholics, okay? But will you continue to believe doctrines of devils or get into the true inspired word of Yahuwah? Because scriptures, which is what I believe, they say that many will sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt. Some versions say damnation, some versions say scorn or resurrection of judgment. But I'm going to tell you, if you reject Christ, he says he's going to reject you. Now, people who choose to believe the deception of Yahuwah's 10 Commandments being done away with through Christ's death, scriptures say just opposite. And it says, if you add or take away from the law, you will be called the least in heaven. But if you're blessed, if you teach men to keep them. Think about Mr. Bundy, that was that murderer, Richard Ramirez, those people that died. We still talk about them and they're not here. So they're going to talk about you in heaven bad, but you're not going to be there. Okay? And Christ he said, we're so, he know we're so petty that he joined 2 commandments from the 10. Okay? And the first one, of course, is love the Most High with everything. That covers the first 4. And then he said, love your neighbors as you love yourself. That covers 6 through 10. That summed it up. So family, don't wait until your children are engulfed inside the penal system before going to the Most High. Did you even know that prison officials can determine how many prisons that they can build for future years based on the behaviors of our young boys starting in the 4th grade? Their research shows that our sons become more aware of their environment, their home life, the community, familiar customs, and peer groups at school, and either adapt to that and mimic what they observe, or do the opposite and excel beyond that culture. Okay, that manufactured culture. When was the last movie that you saw where men and women of color talked out their differences, forgave people who wronged them, sought higher education, were faithful to their wife or husband? And it's a rarity if you can name one. Try to name 5. The elite, the hidden hand, they want you to become familiarized to a culture of fighting, shooting, to be a problem solver, taking vengeance on people, not waiting for the Most High God, not even believing in him, hating and not forgiving, murdering each other, defiling the marriage bed, robbing, gangbanging, using and dealing drugs, stealing, being class clowns, bullies, scheming, not working, and rarely graduating. Oh, and don't let me forget the slavery movies, 12 Years a Slave, The Help, Rosa Parks. But that's just to keep you in your place. That's not to let you know about the struggle you can get away from. It's just to keep you docile and in a slave mind, thinking that you're doing something because they throw you some crumbs. Okay? Do they ever portray any people opposite of you in that fashion? Outside of the 8th Mile? How many movies do you see with successful blacks rich and coming together? Now, if you do see them rich, it's because they're mob bosses, the Queen's Men, pimps, menaces, jackers, NWAs, swindlers, and drug lords. Okay, where would the prisons be without you? They would be almost empty. And saddening after working in a prison, seeing adults treated like elementary children. When they can eat, when they can sleep, when they can go out for recreation, when they're put on punishment, which is lockdown and segregation. They work and earn pennies a day. They're told when they can have company, visitations. Do you like being told what to do? And if not, change your life and grab hold on your children right now. There are adult prisons for men and women, and even child placement. Seek the Most High while he can still be found. You will have peace beyond human understanding. I really hope this video helped you, beloved. Blessings to you and your family. Bye.